Hi, everybody, and welcome to Heathen Talk Season 2, Episode 1. We're excited to be here. Glad to be back from the break. If you're new to the show, you can go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/heathentalk. You can tweet us at heathen_talk. And we do have a Patreon. We're going to get back in the habit of checking in on that because things have been a little crazy around here recently. But we've also got Tumblr,
Nobody
email,
moved.
website.
Nobody moved. Nobody started a new job or anything. It's just been so calm. I don't know what you're talking about.
No one moved. No one's starting new jobs. It's just the easiest life in the world at the moment.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about, Josh.
Go figure, huh?
And
So,
you know, nah.
it is what it is. So, Lauren, we have a thing on the website. And this thing on the website is pretty fantastic. It makes it to where heathens from anywhere in the world can go on, fill out a little application, click a button, and then we talk about their shit on air.
It is. It's really great, and we are actually right now kind of short some of this information. So if you have an event coming up and you need to promote it. I'm sorry, guys. I'm talking and typing at the same time, which I should never do.
You do the typing because that's
sorry,
important.
we were trying to. Yeah, our producer's running late, so okay. So I'm done. I've got that done though. So if you're a heathen group and you are putting on some sort of heathen event, or if you're trying to start a heathen meetup, or if you're having a heathen festival or a heathen class, or basically anything heathen related. And I want to stress that because we have had a few pagan festivals brought to us, and we only do heathen stuff. So I just want to put that out there. Go to our website, click on Heathen Talk. Up at the top there, you will see events. Click that little link for me. Go in there. There is a form at that bottom of that page. All you have to do is fill that out, and we will do the rest. We will give you free advertising for your event, just like we are giving free advertising to the Missouri Moot, which will be September 9th through 11th at Oak Spirit Sanctuary near Columbia, Missouri. That's going to be an event for Missouri heathens, by Missouri heathens. It's an open event, family-friendly. In November, it's going to be the second weekend in November, is Midwest Winter Moot. That's being hosted by Bifrost Way Kindred. That's going to be at Osage Hills State Park in Oklahoma. My personal favorite festival around here. It's family-oriented, handicap accessible. It's a really super nice facility, and I'll be there. And several of our listeners will be there, and a lot of the people that you heard on my ladies' night in February will be there, as well as another heathen podcast host, my friend Shauna, who does Across the Hedge, which has a great lore podcast. So, but if you've got a pub moot coming up, anything, please let me know. And Josh, if you don't mind, I want to talk about our other new nifty thing that we have on the website, and that is.
To hear about it. I haven't been on the website since the updates hit, so.
So I am. In case you guys haven't noticed, or you're watching the show, I'm not in my office. I'm not in my living room. I'm at my parents' house right now. So I've had lots of downtime to do things. And one of the things that I have done, that we talked about doing this forever, is we have a networking section on Heathen Talk. Go over there and click on it, and it's kind of a twofold thing. One hand, you can put your group and yourself on this map. And two, you can go in and look in your location and find your group. Now, right now, there's two groups listed, mine and Torrin's, because I just launched this about 2 o'clock this afternoon. So,
like, seriously,
if you're a listener,
messaged me and told me that she put me on it and asked if that was okay, and I was like, yeah, I guess. It's done is done.
Well, I put it on there when I was still testing it. Because otherwise, if you went to the map, it just was a giant map of downtown Little Rock. Because I was the only thing on there.
Well, I mean, if you select pretty much everything from Seattle to Oak Ridge, Oregon, you've got my group.
Yeah. Well, but we tend to... The idea is to put that in there. You can put in some information about your group, or you can go and put yourself on there. It's just another way. We stress face-to-face heathenry so much that, I'm putting our money where our mouth is and setting up a place where you can actually go and find other heathens. There's also a link to my post about how to find other heathens at the top of that page too, which I'm happy to be personally proud of and link way too much of these days because it's like every other day somebody's coming on Reddit or Facebook. Yeah, I'm in bumfuck Idaho. How do I find somebody? And I'm like, I don't know anybody in bumfuck Idaho, but here's how to find out who's there. So I'm kind of, yeah. So that's there. We also have updated our our swag section. Some new stuff if you haven't heard about, and I'm gonna pimp this, guys, because once again, we have some new T-shirts. We have black coffee mugs now, which Torin has and loves. We have black women's shirts, black single-color men's shirts. We have our new You're Weird shirts, which are or You're Weird, which are my personal favorite ones. And, of course, still offering the bloat shirt and tons of other really awesome things. And we also
announce this.
Now,
I'm going to interrupt here for a second.
Yeah.
I'm going to announce this because
Okay.
I want this shirt, and if I say it's going to happen, because I'm the boss, it has to happen. We're going to release a shirt that says "Check Your Orlog," because
that's what I'm waiting on.
Just entertains the hell out of me,
Josh,
and we're going to do it.
Josh, I've already got it done. I just was going to release it in a couple of weeks.
Well, there you go. In a couple of weeks, you can buy the shirt. See, look at that. The boss says it.
Thanks, Josh. Thanks, Josh. Anyway,
Good job, Lauren.
we also now have. We also now, people have been asking about bumper stickers and that kind of stuff, so we do have a Cafe Press store that has window clings, bumper stickers, dog shirts, water bottles, pint glasses, I don't know, there's a bunch of crap on there. I just pretty much picked out stuff and put it together, but yeah, we have that as well, so man, go. And we're also going to do a Java Ball t-shirt too, so go get some Heathen Talk stuff. Support us, or go to Patreon. That link's on the website. And just please go and support us. And yeah.
We definitely want everybody to go and support us, but I've got some people I want to call out real quick. I know they listen, and since we're doing the user map, I think this is really important. They'll know themselves by their first names. Will, if you're listening, go put your group on there.
Yes.
It'll definitely help populate the area. I know of a heathen who's moving to Medford. Go put yourself on there. If we populate the map, people will be able to find each other. It's a good thing.
If you build it, they will come.
I'm calling back Anbar. Go put yourself on there and your other group on there. Yeah. I'm calling out everybody, really.
So I got to ask, because honestly, this was a project that was kind of happening in the background for me, and it was like, hey, we should do this, and I was like giving thumbs up on the messenger, and then it was like, should we do this? And I would just give a thumbs up on the messenger because I was just down with it. But are we doing groups only, or are we doing individuals as well?
Individuals and groups, there's two different, basically, colors.
Okay. Fantastic.
And
if you find
yes,
yourself in an area with a bunch of individuals, what do a bunch of individuals make up?
A lot of different opinions.
Is that called a group?
I think it's called an argument.
No,
that's a group of heathens. A group of heathens is an argument.
Isn't that the point here, though? That's the point there.
Josh.
Or as Matt says, a bluster.
Josh, it's potentially called a group. Anyway, yes. Instructions on how to add yourself. I will get those copied over here just in a minute. I have them, and I forgot to post them on there. So thank you for catching that for me. I appreciate it. It will be there momentarily. And beyond that, guys, go, interact with us. I'm going to say it again. We love your Facebook messages, emails. I mean, please, by all means, let us know what's up, and we will definitely be... we get back with you, or at least I do. And Josh does, because Josh is, and Torin does if you do it on Facebook.
It's true. Because Torrin stepped away, so before we get to that portion of the show, I just want to thank everybody for their patience while we took a couple of weeks off. It was needed for me, at least.
Yeah.
I got a new job. I'm working a weird schedule, so we had to reschedule to Saturdays. It's been crazy. That's just the way of it.
And yeah, and then I has, it's been very strange. Just like I was being sarcastic earlier. I started a new job. Right after I got back from Cascadia moved. Josh moved and started a new job, and it's just been like, and then Mark, our producer, is in the middle of moving and new job stuff too. So it's just been crazy. And I do want to apologize. We should have new podcasts up tomorrow, and we'll be caught up by tomorrow. So hopefully, now that I've kind of got things a little more settled, we shouldn't do that backlog thing again.
Thanks to people working a lot harder than me.
Well, that's because, despite the fact that the rest of us have had crazy stuff going on, you just work your job and come home.
Sure, that's what I do. We'll go with that for now.
For now. So, Torrin.
Yes.
We've come to a point in the show.
We have.
Where we do the thing.
We do the thing.
I'd like you to do the thing.
Season 2, at least in this capacity, will be no different than Season 1. We still have our traditions to uphold, and one of those traditions is our daily toast. Every week we toast somebody who is doing something important for heathenry, who is being active, who is trying to support things that are good in heathenry and make sure that they prosper. And I think that everybody present here would argue that Heathen Talk is at least marginally good for heathenry. Yes?
My opinion is biased.
Okay, I'm just going to say something here. We're heathens. Hell yeah, we're awesome for heathenry. I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Okay, so we're doing a good thing for heathenry, right? Therefore, supporting Heathen Talk in some capacity will be considered doing a good thing for heathenry, yes?
I'll follow that logic.
Okay, it is by that logic that I'm going to ask my tribesman Matt to unmute his microphone.
I'm unmuted.
No, you're not.
I'm not?
No,
He's trying to unmute his microphone.
We can hear him over Torrin's mic.
Okay.
There we go.
There we go.
So
Yeah.
everybody say hi to Matt.
Hi to Matt.
Warren, no. No.
Matt, get your microphone and go stand by Torrin.
I'm stand by Torrin.
Yeah, that's a better idea.
So just so people know, he's sitting in my living room right now, which is why this is a little bit weird. So Matt's going to come around and stand by Torrin and just go ahead and share my video feed with me. Everybody say hi to Matt.
Hi to Matt.
Hi, Matt.
Okay, so I have to say, without Matt, my tribe would not exist right now. Matt has helped my tribe continue to exist in a number of ways that I'm not going to, number here right now, but let me just say Stone Shore owes part of his existence to this man. That, however, is not why I asked him to unmute his microphone and eventually to come around and just share mine. I asked him because, as we mentioned earlier, Mark is going through a lot of changes right now, new job, new home, etc., and he's not able to fill his normal duties as a producer. And so on about, 5-6 hours notice, Matt agreed to do the job, at least for tonight. And because we're weren't exactly on the ball finding somebody to do the job. But Matt stepped right up, and he's helping us out with this tonight. He's been instrumental in my tribe. He's one of the best heathens that I know in this area. And because of that, I would like tonight's toast to be to Matt.
To Matt.
Oh, Matt. He can't hear me, so I will wait.
Thank you very much.
I will wait until he gets back on a headphone.
He's headed back now.
And we're going to do my job to be worthy of the toast. I'm also, Autumn and I are now $25 a month recurring Patreons.
God damn.
Put your headphones on. Lauren wants to say something.
So like, the first person I met when I got into Seattle was his wife. and Matt's wife and Autumn, and she's great, and they are great, and they just made me feel so welcome, and just really like I genuinely miss Autumn. I'm not gonna lie, I was thinking about that today. But I just feel so lucky to have gotten to meet them, and I agree. He's been really great, been a good supporter of Torin and a good friend to him, and that means a lot to me because, well, I like it when people on the show are in good places.
And you
so,
know,
yeah.
A good supporter at Heathen Talk, Matt and Autumn give us $25 a month, so we can't complain about that. So they give us money, and he's here actually doing the nuts and bolts work that needs to be done. So
Yeah.
what's up with you out there that's not
Matt.
giving us anything?
I like Matt a lot, but let's stop filleting the man. What are you drinking, Torin?
All right.
Well, you know,
Yes.
when I made the toast, I was drinking this. Dogfish Head Saison de Provence. I tried this about a week ago when I went over to Matt's for dinner and randomly picked it up at the beer store on my way. And you know what? Goddamn, that is a good Saison. It's just really exceptional. And it's not one of Dogfish Head's weird, you know, out there beers that they charge $10 or $15 a bottle for. It's a $4 bottle of beer. It's everybody go find it. It's Saison de Provence. If you have any love at all for Saisons, you should absolutely love that.
What vintage Dr. Pepper are you drinking there, Lauren?
I am not just drinking Dr. Pepper. I'm drinking vanilla Diet Dr. Pepper. Him as in I mix the vanilla with the Diet Dr. Pepper. It's really good. But yeah, I actually have some stuff at the house, but my parents are teetotalers, so.
You know what's funny about that is during the pre-show when Josh was in another room and not actually participating, I saw Lauren drinking out of that cup, and I asked her what she was drinking tonight, and she told me. So it's just funny that Josh leapt right to Dr. Pepper.
I'm predictable. I know that.
Consistent. You're consistent.
Yes, consistent. So, Josh, what about you? What are you drinking, buddy?
I'm broke. Very, very broke. So I'm drinking a diet root beer with white rum in it.
You know, Josh, there's this wonderful thing that happened just a short time ago. You moved in near me. So I never expect you to drink anything other than exceptional beer on air again. Just so you know.
Did I just get a warning from Torin?
A little bit.
Are you going to make that a written notice?
I am going to make that. I am going to put that in writing and make that your first written warning.
Well, then we can consider this my pre-punishment punishment drink.
From here on out, you drink good beer with me. That's how it goes. Now that you live here.
Fair enough.
All right. So now that we've covered.
Guys, Edison. Sorry, guys. Edison is acting up, so I had to yell at him.
Oh, that's okay. Lauren, it's. I still consider it too bad that you don't also live here in the civilized world because I can just get you stuff from Ghostfish. It's all wonderfully gluten-free.
Well, I've got some ciders at home, and then we're going to start Kindred Brewing Project back up here once the little ones are back in school and we have a little more time. But it's just been such a busy summer for and to be fair, I like ciders better than beer anyway. So
true. I'm hoping that by next Cascadia Moot, I'll have had the opportunity to write a gluten-free recipe that will be also palatable to you. And maybe we can get something going there.
Here's
I've
my
got one.
only
It's called hard apple cider.
So yeah, exactly. I'm gonna throw this out there to you, Torin. Don't try too hard because you will have to have all new a lot of brewing supplies to do it effectively. And I don't want you to have to do that. So.
I will. I always try hard when I brew beer.
And oh darn, he has to buy more brewing supplies.
I know, right? So I have to upgrade my capacity a little bit right before a
Yeah.
large event with a bunch of people who need beer.
And
And
to
it's
drink
not.
every beer
Yeah.
you had that you brought. And almost, well, we didn't drink all the kegs, but I mean,
No, we had some of the keg left, and to be honest with you, I had a few bottles of the coffee porter left, but the
you hid those.
not
I know
much.
you did.
I did not. They were on the table the whole time.
Because I liked that coffee porter.
It was delicious,
And if I
but you
had
know,
seen them, I would have drank them.
everybody was hitting you. You were drinking the CDA so much, though.
That's because CDA is the best beer.
In all fairness, I was also drinking the CDA a lot.
Can I just
All
state
right,
for the
so-
record that that coffee porter smelled so good?
So,
That's
anyone
just
who-
all I got from it. It smelled so good.
Coffee Pasta, anyone who read the Coffee Pasta knows that tonight we're talking about relationships.
Yes.
And how being a heathen affects that. Before we do that, I'd like to give some updates on what's going on with Heathen Talk, let everybody know where we stand, and let people know my plans for the next, year. So, as people have noticed, Mark isn't here. He's going through a rough spot at the moment, moving, finding a place to live, finding a new job. It's life. Welcome to 2016. The other thing you will have noticed is Toby's not here. Toby has decided to pursue other avenues within heathenry, and so he left on good terms with Heathen Talk. He's still a friend of the show. We still love him to death, but you won't see him on the show. Won't see him on the show as often if he comes back on the show. I started a new job, and I'm working a crazy shift that is uncomfortable, but, you know, puts food on the table. Sometimes puts beer in my hand. And for me, for the next year, I've decided to pretty much give up some sleep and really, really work hard at making Heathen Talk into more than it is. So you'll see more blog posts from myself. You'll see the episodes being edited and posted more frequently by me, and I'm sure Lauren will also do a bunch of that as well. But this next year, expect big things, even if we've cut back on active staff.
So for my part,
And I do want to say, I'm still here. We still have Ben. So expect the next, the Java Mall has not been getting out, and that's been my fault once again. But yeah, you will have a new Java Mall on Monday.
I was going to say for my
Go ahead,
part,
Lauren.
in this coming year, I plan to go on pretty much as I have been. I'd like to make announcements that I'm going to try harder and do more and make blog posts, etc., but it's just not going to happen. I've got some fairly monumental things going on in my personal life right now. So
Yeah.
I'm going to keep showing up here and talking for an hour and a half once a week.
Don't worry about it. I'll make you YouTube famous yet.
But yeah, I'll keep showing up here, talking for an hour and a half once a week, and see what else I can do. But I mean, because talking for an hour and a half, that's just a hobby. I don't have to try for that.
Hey, I'll be honest with you guys. I am working practically a full-time job and going to school full-time. I do the best I can. And that's really all I can promise at this point. I'm just going to say this. Thanks to Heathen Talk and kind of, I guess, the kind of like gumption it's giving me, heathenry has freaking exploded in Central Arkansas. And we went from having 3 of us to we're planning for like a dozen people at our feast on next Saturday. So,
well, Lauren,
I'm kind of excited about it.
Pat yourself in the damn back for that, because honestly, Heathen Talk wouldn't be what it is without you.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to point out, as the boss, shortcomings are my fault. It's my bad. I apologize for the people who haven't gotten responses to their questions on Patreon. I'm going to make sure to get on those. We'll
I don't even know.
Just give us some time to get settled.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. at the same time, guys, we have accomplished a lot, and I'm pretty proud of us, and I'm looking forward to yet another year of awesomeness.
We've accomplished a lot for a show that pretty much makes up the rules as it goes.
Yeah. For a
It
show
is-
that
it
I
is the
honestly
easiest
thought
way.
was going to be me and... Yeah, I honestly thought it was going to be me, Josh, and maybe 10 people listening, so there we go.
Do we have more than 10 people listening?
Yeah, we're averaging...
We have 9 people listening live. So, Lauren is almost spot on the money.
Well, to be fair, usually Matt would be listening live, but instead of listening live, he's plugged into our Hangouts on the back end and listening that way from the living room so that he can run the IRC for us.
Fair enough.
So
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and call Lauren correct on that one.
I'm pretty good, but no, we're getting thousands of downloads per episode, which is pretty for a religious community as small as we are. That's pretty phenomenal.
We have a dozen of fans.
Yeah, I know,
Wait,
it's
dozen.
great. All right, so Josh? What are we talking about tonight? Since we have talked about everything but the topic for the past 25 minutes.
We did our best, yeah.
We did, yeah.
So tonight's a topic that's fairly close to my heart because I'm a people person. Career-wise, it's what I do. I help people. I do the podcast to help people. So how people relate and how their cultural norms impact their relationships is something that's really important to me. And tonight we're going to talk about how being a heathen has changed or impacted the way we interact with people who are heathen, people who aren't heathen, and people who we're forced to interact with on a daily basis. So, for instance, how being a heathen affects Torin and my relationship, or Lauren and my relationship, versus how it affects my mother's and my relationship, or how it affects my bosses and my relationship. And so we're going to take that topic one step at a time. We're going to try to fill 90 minutes of it. I may change the subject halfway through because...
We only have to fill an
That's what I
hour,
do.
though. I don't know what you're talking about.
God, I can fill
That's
an hour
true.
by accident.
I think you have before.
Yeah.
So the first thing I want to do, first subject I want to broach, is how heathens interact with each other. And how being a heathen colors that interaction. So I want to ask for input. I'm going to go to Lauren first, then I'll go to Torin. How do the cultural norms of heathenry in your region, because they're going to be different depending on where you live, impact the way you talk to and interact with other heathens?
Now I will say this, that I am going to preface this by saying I'm not going to bring up, for the most part, quote-unquote, online interaction into this, because I think that to me is, I don't know, that's another rant for another time.
Online
But
interaction is not within the scope of what I'm intending to talk about.
yeah, that's my
Because he's
point.
unpredictable. He's rogue, so...
Well, I think that, first of all, I am... Okay, so this is going to... So, heathens in general. I'm going big picture heathens, not heathens I know, but big picture. Being heathen has made me far more cautious with people. Because I'm here in, an area where we have some like, and everyone does, but I mean, we have some people that I quite frankly would not want them to know I was heathen, simply because I don't want them to know I exist, because they're not the kind of people who, I would ever want to really interact with or expose me and mine to. That being said, I tend to be skeptical of outsiders. And that part of that's heathen. I mean, because I was not like that before I was heathen. I was very, I'm still, I'm a people person too. I love people, but at the same time, I'm very protective of other heathens who I consider, mine. part of that inner yard, whatever, where it's, because I'm the concentric circles of Inningarth, and that's kind of the culture here. But people who are in, my circles, the closer in my circles they are as heathens, the more I'm willing to protect them from people who are further away. And at the same time, like I have such close friends that are heathen, people that I love, and I know that I can genuinely depend on. I mean, I love this story. When I got divorced from my ex-husband, there, and this was a long time ago. We'll just say that, like 12 years ago, 13 years ago. I don't know. It was a while ago. Maybe not that long, but it was quite a while ago. It was over 10 years ago. I mean, there were multiple people who offered, not just from my group, but from our kind of our jokingly we call the in-law kindred up in Northwest Arkansas. I mean, just so many people who were willing to come and help me move. They were willing to help me hide bodies. They were willing to. I stayed with a whole bunch of friends during that time just to get a chance to kind of recover from what had happened, because it was not a great situation. Just so many people who, because it's such a part of our culture to be that, to give, then because it's reciprocal, because that other heathens are going to, if you give, other heathens are going to give, that. And so that's what keeps, I think, our culture here, at least, very, very nice and very rewarding and stable. And also, it also helps that, a lot of them are big and scary looking, and a lot of them have trucks and can move things.
So, Torin, what about you?
Well, when so my dealings with people who aren't heathen really haven't changed a lot. I pretty much, heathenry hasn't changed much of how I interact with people, as far as I've noticed anyway. I mean, obviously, anybody over a certain number of years changes a lot in how they deal with the public, and I can't pretend like heathenry hasn't influenced how I've developed as a person in as many ridiculous number of years that I've been at this. But I don't necessarily feel like I interact with non-heathens differently because I'm a heathen. I will say I do interact with heathens differently than I interact with non-heathens. I tend to be a lot more forward with other heathens, a lot more straight in how I speak. I guess non-politic, if you will. I don't try to spare people's opinions, and I guess or spare people's feelings. And I guess that might be because it matters more to me. If I'm going to have, say, okay, so my tribe does monthly pub moods, where we invite the public in to come, meet the tribe and just to have a general heathen gathering, over drinks and food and whatnot. And I am not going to pull any of my punches during one of those as to what my opinions on things are, because if you don't like the way I view things, maybe you don't belong there. I mean, yeah, there's some things that it doesn't really matter if we agree on or not, and there's plenty of disagreement amicably. But I mean, if you're gonna be the type to come in there and talk about how much race matters to heathenry, I'm not even going to pretend to give a crap about your feelings if you're another heathen. But beyond that, going back into the heathen interactions, it's like, yeah, I'm much more conscious of my in-guard, my in-group, or the concentric circles like Lauren was talking about. Like definitely Josh is close to me now, and he's a good friend, and I would go out of my way to help him where I can because he's close by, and I know that he's going to understand the complex social interactions involved in a heathen relationship. If Josh needs a thing and I see that need and I offer to fix that, and fulfill that need, then I know that he's also going to be there in a reciprocal nature to fulfill a different need for me when I have it, to speak in extremely generic terms about a very specific situation.
Well, I mean, we can get into that situation. I was going to bring it up anyway.
Well, yeah, that's why I was speaking generically about it, because you're going to bring it up later. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that I have certain expectations of other heathens. Expectations of a general belief system in a social sense. And I feel that I should be able to use that to judge what their actions are going to be in any given situation, because I share, at least while I'm the first person out there to say, don't call me brother, we don't share a special bond just because you're another heathen, I do expect you to understand certain social concepts from our shared culture. And I will find out pretty quickly whether or not you share those social concepts and adjust my behavior accordingly, but I'm going to start from the assumption that you do.
Now, Torrin, I found this interesting, something that you said about being where you are more straightforward with other heathens. I, as a rule, am not, unless, once again, you have already passed through that kind of outsider to at least the fringes of my, because to me, I once again, it's kind of that wall. I don't want to. I'm a heathen who's gotten to the point in her life where I'm just not hugely invested in having an argument with you, unless Once again, if I'm not being paid or at least somehow admired while I'm having my argument, like here, I don't really want to have it. Well, and I don't have arguments with strangers. I think that's the thing. Like, I just have no investment in having arguments with strangers. To me, it's just not a thing. But so I can be very kind of, as somebody who also I know that I represent my group and my people, I can be very political in the sense that if somebody says something, like we had a guy come in and say he was a part of the alt-right, and he was, and he flat out, said he was, a racist. And he's come back to some of our other events, and I'm just like, I know that. He knows I disagree with him. And I am of the opinion at this point that I would much rather show him by action how I'm right and he's wrong than argue. Or, to me it's just like, okay, it's not worth my... Once again, I only have so many fucks to give, and I'm really not in the mood to give fucks about you if you're going to be that way. Then again, I feel the same way about a lot of other people that way, too. So.
Fair enough. Now, I should clarify a little bit, too. I mean, as far as my social interactions on the heathen level is, and I know that you have, and we maybe approach this a little bit differently because you have some similar starting points, is, I'm the chieftain of a tribe in my area, just as you're a leader in your tribe. And
I am the she who must be obeyed.
Right, exactly.
But essentially, I'm the chieftain of my tribe, yes.
Exactly. So, from my point of view, the way I come at it is that when I am meeting people in a heathen capacity, I'll go ahead and put it that way, for example, running the pub moot or at Cascadia moot or whatnot, most heathens who approach me are going to be one of two types of people. They're, well, one of many types of people, but these are the two that I'm considering right now. They're either going to be somebody who is part of a tribe, and therefore I am interacting with them on some level as representatives of two larger groups. Or they are somebody who is without tribe, and I am interacting with them on the level of a tribe that they may want to join. And neither one of those situations is one in which I should hedge in any way. I need to be very straightforward about who I am and who my people are.
Well, and to me, I am very open and straightforward, but at the same time, I'm just not, I guess. Here's the thing, if somebody, you can go to our Facebook page and see what, we are very open and blatantly, it is pretty obvious. You Google us, you find out that, one of my kindred brothers is heavily involved with the Troth. We have publicly put out statements about LBGT. We have pretty much put our platforms out there. And so if you show up to our group, our event, and basically still want to, do that kind of stuff, then, yeah, you're not worth my time. Because if you're coming to our event to...
Right.
Yeah, I guess that's where I'm coming from. And like I said, it's regional differences. It's... and I'm not necessarily looking... And the other thing is our point of views are different. I'm not looking at someone as a... Yeah.
It's also personal differences because when it comes down to it, I do like to argue because arguing is a form of talking, and nobody can disagree that I like talking. Because I talk goodly.
Yeah, but the other thing is I don't look at every my brain, I almost said unchurched because once again I'm here, but untribed, unaffiliated. There we go. There's a great word. I don't necessarily look at every unaffiliated heathen that I run into as I don't necessarily look at every unaffiliated heathen I into as a potential tribe member because, quite frankly, we're snotty bitches. We ain't gonna accept
Well, I don't look at them as potential tribe members so much as I just I'm also working under the assumption that heathen needs tribe and heathen's looking for tribe. So when heathen needs tribe, heathen is evaluating tribe.
Right, but at the same time, I don't know. Like I said, we're snotty about who we accept. So
interaction is mathematics.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, the point being, like I said, it's different approaches, but that's personality too. It's what and quite honestly, the political game, the how you and your mom and them is a Southern thing that's so expected that I not only am engaging in this kind of heathen cultural exchange and worldview, but it's couched in this very heavily Southern also manners in that. So it's actually a pretty interesting dance to do between between all of it, because I kind of want to respect all of it too, because to me that culture of being Southern and that hospitality is just as important to me as my heathen culture.
Right. I mean, we don't just, when I'm not always looking at another heathen I meet as a heathen, or necessarily even as a potential tribe member or representative of another tribe. That's a little bit of a simplistic way to put it. I mean, in fact, Matt could definitely point out that often enough he's the one that's pulling our pub roots back into heathen topics because we're digressing a lot into non-heathen topics, which is fine, which is great, because in the end, our pub moods aren't just about talking about heathenry. They're about, people getting together and having a damn good time. But, there's also the fact that it is supposed to be about heathens getting together and having a damn good time together, and we only do it once a month, so we might as well, make the best of it with heathen topics a lot of the times. And he does a good job at finding ways to, pull us into worthwhile topics. But
I personally, that's why we actually ban heathen topics from some of our events.
Oh God, no. Well, as Matt just put it, he says, "I can drink with anyone. I can't heathen with anyone."
Yeah.
So taking that opportunity once a month to be, a public heathen is kind of great.
Well, I just, a lot of, and not necessarily public stuff, but some of our kindred events, I ban the discussion of non-heathen topics because, quite frankly, I get tired of talking about heathen stuff, and I want to hear about their band or TV shows, or I want to get to know them as more than heathens. But that's
Yeah.
But so Josh, I kind of want to get to you on this because I think you have something kind of like cool and good to share about kind of your interactions with other heathens, and I'm sorry, it's important. I want you to talk.
I do. No.
Yeah, remember the whole inspiration for the show?
Right. Sorry, my brain. So for me, interacting with heathens, there's when you take into consideration the fact that we have a lot of things that we hold important. We have a gift cycle that's very important to us. Torrin and I are in a gifting relationship. We have gifted each other, and that will continue. Lauren and I have a gifting relationship, and Torrin has the cops outside his house.
The popo.
I live right across the street from the fire department. I'm sorry. It's just a thing.
Yeah.
That is what it is.
My house will never burn down.
In a sleepy little neighborhood. And so, for instance, Torrin alluded towards this event, I guess.
Situation.
Situation. That's a better word. Monday it rained up here, and the raining was what caused me to discover that I had worn holes in the bottoms of my shoes because I got to work and my feet were soaked. So I posted a gripe about how I don't get paid for 2 weeks, and that same day I got several messages offering to help me out with that, and it was much easier for me to say no to people who were not heathen than it was for people who were heathen. I know for me, Torrin offered to help me with this, and the only reason I was able to not even turn him down, but to sidestep it, is I had an extra pair of shoes at home. But if I hadn't, then it would have been, and I may be just projecting all over the place here, it would have been rude for me to even fight you on that offer.
Well, a little bit, yeah. No, you're not projecting too much.
Lauren didn't even give me the chance to say no. She went ahead and took care of me. And to me, that is indicative of what a heathen relationship is like, is when someone you know and someone you are in that form of relationship with is in need, then you step up and you fill that need. And I said, go ahead, Lauren.
I'm always kind of like in awe and kind of humbled by how this happens in heathen groups of, and not even just like just groups of friends of people who are heathen. We're all in different tribes, but we're all friends, and I'm just always kind of moved by that. It makes me happy to be heathen.
Well, and we are. And we work really hard to maintain those relationships. I mean, Torrin and I don't share a tribe. He's also not at his desk, so I could talk shit for the next few seconds. Matt, you're not hearing any of this. No, Torrin and I aren't in a tribe, but we live relatively close together, and so it's easier for us. But you, Lauren, we have that gifting relationship, and we have a friendship that we've built over the show and over Reddit and through working on projects together, and so we guard that because that is what is important to a heathen, because you don't know when you're going to need a friend, and that is what it's about.
Oh, exactly. And I think of like and kind of within like my own kindred, my kindred brother Einbar was in a very severe car wreck a couple of months ago, scared us all to death, and broke his arm, totaled his car, was in the hospital, and yet I swear he did not cook a meal for like 3 weeks because Ben showed up with all this food, and that's just or when Ben's wife had surgery, it's just I just see, it's such a, even though we don't live in a tribal society anymore, it is such an extension of tribe. It is an extension of taking care of each other. And that reciprocal nature of it makes it even more important to do that.
Well, you take care and you are taken care of.
Exactly. It's the idea of, and this is one of those things that makes it tricky when you're interacting with non-heathens, because in American culture, gifts don't carry obligations. Gifts are given from the goodness of your heart.
What a bunch of silly horseshit.
Right?
Right.
But for heathens, a gift carries an obligation. I take care of you, you take care of me, and it sounds very, I'm going to go a little nerdy here, it sounds very Ferengi. You know, I scratch your back, you scratch my back kind of thing.
Now, I'm going to say something here, is the idea of gifts given from the goodness of the heart in modern culture, I think is almost as close as it can be 100% lip service. It's something we talk about, or people talk about, because it sounds good and it fits a certain desire of conduct from the Abrahamic overculture. First one of the season.
There you go.
First overculture of the season. Anyways, is that the entire concept of giving without expectation in return. But in that may happen on completely anonymous levels, but in actual close interaction with people that you know and have continued association with, anybody who's honest with themselves doesn't really think that way, for the most part. I obviously can't make a 100% statement. I can say even before I was a heathen, you know, back in my childhood or some of my teenage years, there was always that background mental process at certain times of the year. You know, Christmas comes around or birthdays come around or whatnot. Well, okay, here's a person that I know and it's their birthday. Should I get them a gift? Well, has that person ever given me a gift? Or do I think they'll give me a gift on my birthday? Will it be weird if I give them a gift? And you run through all that in your head, and what that ultimately comes down to is whether you realize it or not, you're trying to process whether or not you're actually in a gift cycle with that person. This is something that is ingrained in us, and I'm not talking about it on some weird genetic level. I'm talking about it on a social level. Our culture, despite the fact that
as a child.
What's that?
I think we start learning that as a child, because I remember birthdays as a young child, getting gifts for people who, within 6 months, I had no connection to them. And over the course of your childhood, as you pass in and out of these people's lives, and you're giving gifts at their birthdays or whatever, you learn that the relationships that are important are the ones that last. Right. And the gifting cycle helps those last.
Well, when it comes down to it, like I said, I was saying this is instinctual with us. It's ingrained in. I'm not saying, like I was saying, it's not on some weird genetic, epigenetic, metagenetic level or any bullshit like that. It's on a cultural level, because despite the fact that we do have an Abrahamic overculture, we also have a Germanic overculture in most of the West, definitely in America. And we do have concepts.
I would.
Sorry, go ahead, Lauren.
I'm going to argue with you a little about that. I think that there is some biological component to it, because I think that in general, we are going to, we are generally by nature selfish little bastards. Look at children, little children. And so I'm not going to do, I have to see a benefit in something for me to do it. That is just the nature, let's be honest here, a lot of people donate to charity because they can write it off on their taxes, that kind of thing. So I see that, we are selfish by nature, and we want to get something out of anything that we do, and I think we want a reward. We do to get the reward, and so to me, I think there's absolutely some, there's some instinctual programming in there as well.
Well, it reminds me of a time that
if you want to get into Freudian psychology about it, giving gifts is all about sex, so.
Well, I say it reminds me of a time when I was in my, I don't know, early mid-20s or so. I remember where I was, not exactly how old I was. Where I was, getting a little bit on the disturbed side because I started to realize that no matter how hard I tried, I wasn't an altruistic person. That every time I did something nice for somebody, my brain automatically, after I did the thing, started cycling through, the benefit to myself. And I eventually came to the conclusion, after a short period of time, that it didn't really fucking matter. I was doing the nice thing, and my life and the lives of those around me were better. But I think that that's part of that whole thing is the ingrained desire to engage in the gift cycle.
I look at our tribe is talking about like what we want to do. We want to do some community service, and the fact of the matter is, yeah, it's part of it is because we want to teach our little ones that you do good things, and part of it is we want to make it so to normalize who we are. We want to be able to make and that's as much a part of it as it is anything else. We're getting something out of it.
So let's pull the subject back to heathenry, because we've talked a little bit about, for the last couple of minutes, just being human about it, right? And humans are selfish by nature. We want something for something. But even then, there's a cultural component to it. And the cultural component, when it comes to this new, and we are new, I don't care how many people say we're an ancient religion, we're new. This new religion.
We're not an ancient religion.
That is very important, and it establishes roads in our minds about how we view the world and how we interact with it. And this impacts the way we interact with everyone, from heathens to non-heathens. I know for me, personally, even interacting with my boss is colored by the fact that I'm a heathen. I expect the world to work a certain way. I know in my head that it doesn't, but I've worked so hard at being this thing that it makes no sense to me that the world doesn't work the way I think it should. And so when my boss does something that kind of steps on those toes, I have to take a step back. I have to mentally prepare myself and be like, oh, right, the world doesn't work the way it should. Got it. Do you find yourselves in situations where something happens out in the regular world and you go, wait a second, why in the world would this be the case? Because you naturally think to look after your own, or to look for the gift cycle, or things like that. Do you see that happening in your daily lives?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's I think that's the nature of the kind of worldview shift. And I think part of it is just, I think that's almost part of the like process of shifting your worldview is you start shifting your worldview, and then you get to that point where you're like, why isn't this working the way I want it to? And then finally you get to the point of cynicism about it. But yeah, I mean, I frequently like have discussions with friends who about and they're very like about I have a lot of discussions about family, and I don't know, I just have I'm around a lot of atheists. Not knocking atheists, I love my husband's one, but yeah, so like my husband has no real like desire to like be close to his family. There's a lot of reasons. I won't go into them. That's his story. But sometimes it's hard for me to wrap my brain around that. Like, I honestly, I don't understand it.
What about you,
Strangely enough, I do understand that, Lauren, and mostly because of a couple of very good, close personal friends who, honestly, at the end of the day, at least from cultural and worldview perspective are damn near more heathen than half the heathens I know. But I completely missed out on the actual question I'm answering here because I was trying to explain something to people in my kitchen.
Sorry, y'all cut out. I didn't hear any of that.
Tor, what we're talking about is, if you ever had that experience where, like, something happened in your life with someone who's not necessarily heathen, and they acted kind of against the heathen worldview, and it kind of like threw you for a loop, or it made you kind of double, basically it caused you to have a reaction.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, frequently with certain parts of my family, honestly, because that's where it's the most difficult for me, is when family members of mine act in an unheathen way, even though none of them are heathens. So I have no expectation of them to necessarily fit the heathen ideal culturally, but the flip side, they're also the people that raised me. And to be honest with you, the heathen worldview shift wasn't as huge of a transition for me as it is for a lot of people, just because of the type of people that my family are. They're largely culturally heathen, whether they know it or not. And some of them do know it because I've explained it to them in great detail. But so when parts of my family do act outside of what I would consider a cultural norm, it often does surprise me. I'm like, really? You just did that? That's the shittiest thing I've ever heard. How could you have done that? And have to sit back and think to myself, well, that makes perfect sense if I think about it in this other way. But and the worst part about it is that often enough it usually is a negative thing, and it doesn't stop me from thinking this particular close family member is a complete and utter fucking shitheel when they do it. And I hate thinking that way about my own family, but sometimes you gotta. Honestly, the worst of it was so I have I'm one of those people that is so common in this country because I have 4 parents, because my folks divorced and remarried at various points. My mother was the instigator to put my step-grandmother in a home. And that bothered me in ways that I cannot even begin to articulate. Not because I have a problem with the concept of nursing homes. Sometimes they're needful. My biological grandmother on my father's side had to go in a nursing home, but it didn't happen until after she had lived with my uncle for a decade, and eventually had to go in because she had medical requirements that we just couldn't deal with at home. But on the flip side, my stepdad's mother, she had no such issues. She was just not quite capable of running her own home anymore by herself after her husband died. And the idea that my mother was the one that caused her to be put into a nursing home facility, despite the fact that my mom and stepdad had the means to take care of her. They had the extra room in their home to take care of her because all the kids have moved out and there's like 3 open bedrooms. All of this, and they still chose to put her and paid to put her in a nursing home. They're paying extra money to not have her staying with family. And that, I still can't quite put it into words how much that bothers me. And it bothers me even more that my own mother's the one that did it. So I guess that's the best example I can think of a time. But yeah, usually for me, those times are with family. Because when not family acts in non-heathen ways, it's just a product of the culture they're born in. When my family acts in those ways, then there's a problem in my head.
The only time I ever notice when non-family act in non-heathen ways is when it affects me. Like, I am 100% certain that there's all sorts of stuff going on at work that is just not something a heathen would even consider doing. But when my boss does something that changes my life for some reason, that's when it starts to throw me through a loop. Because then I'm confronted with the fact that my world isn't working the way I'm used to it working.
Right.
I'm gonna brag here, but I consider myself very lucky because the place that I work, for the most part, is like the company values are super congruent with like my human worldview, and it makes me very happy to work there. One of the things that they have is they call the company I work for takes care of their own. It's like a part of our website, and if something happens as a work family, we bind together and help because these are people I spend in an average work day. I probably actually spend more time interacting with my coworkers than I do my husband, and that's because that is kind of what it is. So I'm very lucky because otherwise I don't know that I would be able to function as well. And I agree with Josh though. Yeah, it's definitely something where it's more apparent when it affects you. And I think even with my family, it's the same way. My family is, I don't expect it from my family at all. But when it does affect me, it does kind of annoy me. Like right now, my brother and my sister-in-law are looking at moving pretty far away, and that leaves me with, well, if they move away, then I can't leave because one of us needs to be here because my mom and dad are, they're getting to the point, they're in their 60s, and I'm in my parents right now because I'm taking care of my dad this weekend, and I don't want my parents to be here and not have someone close by, who can do that and help out, and that's important to me.
So we've got a little bit of time left. I want to flip it on its head a little bit.
All right.
We've talked about how we interact with the world around us. I know that we each have times and stories where our being heathen has caused the world to... well, not the entire world, because, we're not that big yet, given
our world.
Well, it's caused the people around us to react oddly to us, right? Because we have expectations, we behave a certain way, and when that doesn't line up with what's expected through the overculture, how do you handle that?
It's really kind of funny.
Anyone?
Are you not hearing me, Josh? Okay. I don't know if
sorry.
you hear me.
I hear you, Lauren.
Okay. Yeah. Technical difficulties. Please stand by. I don't know that I am going to. I don't know that I really run into that nearly as much, except maybe with my husband, and that's more of a I'm religious, he's not conflict. Because something that I have found is being a good heathen, people mistake you for a good Christian pretty easily. Because on the surface, if they're not diving into it, you're hardworking, you're loyal, you're good to your family, you're the kind of person that it is.
Well, in any small community, I think that the values of heathenry are just going to be translated into whatever you consider to be good values. That sounds awfully culturally biased when I say it out loud like that. But the fact is, we care about our people, we care about those close to us, we care about our communities in
so let's talk about
circles.
Some specifics then. Because I've seen this happen with not just myself, but with other heathens. Heathens have a limit to the charity we will do.
Well, yeah.
For instance, if I'm out on the street and 5 days out of 10 you ask for a cigarette, or 5 days out of 7 you ask for a cigarette, by the third day, I'm out. Whether I've got a full pack in my pocket or not, I'm out. Because there's a limit to how much charity I'm willing to give. Same thing to be said with, I had someone who I didn't want a gifting relationship with want to give me a gift, and I told her no. said, no, that do not send me a gift. I will not accept it. And it was shocking to her because in the overculture, gifts aren't that big of a deal.
Right. And I mean, the flip side of that, too, is when we do value the relationship that we have or are establishing, we are willing to go out of our way to maintain and or establish that relationship. You know, it's we'll drive an hour and a half to lend our labor to help build a fence when our labor isn't necessarily needed, but the act of providing it is important.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something that I'm gonna toss something out here. If you're new to heathenry and you're complaining because you have to drive an hour to meet with other heathens, you're missing the point. Have we let the F-bomb drop tonight yet? Have we?
I did one. Yeah.
So we're at 2 tonight. We're at 2.
We're 2? Well, if we have 2, we might as well keep going.
You are missing the fucking point. I'm sorry, you are.
Our guest producer approves of dropping multiples, by the way. I just wanted to point that out.
I'm sorry you are, because one, I live in Arkansas and everything's an hour away. But 2, these people become, the idea of that community should be so important to you that you're willing to take that risk to meet with them, and then hopefully you'll develop those relationships where it's a joy to drive that hour or 2 hours or 3 hours or beyond to be with these people. I had somebody contact me that lived in Dallas that was willing to drive twice a month from Dallas to Little Rock to potentially just be considered to join my kindred because they were looking but that was their and I'm not, I could say that as a reflection on me, but it really probably wasn't. It was a reflection on their dedication. I mean, that's a 6.5, 7-hour drive. Their dedication to finding community.
Right.
Well,
I introduced them to heathens up there instead.
The unfortunate reality is, for most of us, well, we live in America, and I can start at one end of the state that I live in currently and drive for most of a day and still be well within the state that I'm currently in. It's just the way our country works. In order to see my family, my nearest family is actually 2 blocks away, so that's a bad example. My nearest close family is easily 400 miles south of here. My mom is almost 1,000 miles south of here. If I want to see family, I have to commit to that. If I want to see my tribe, I've got to go all the way to Portland from Seattle. I give up an entire weekend for a 3-hour event. Heathenry takes work, and sometimes that work is travel.
Yeah.
I drive, our people that come to our stuff, we have about a 2 to 3 hour kind of buffer around. And, I drive, I live an hour away from my parents, and, that's where I am this weekend. Would I rather be, to be completely honest with you, if given my own selfish desires, would I rather be catching a whole bunch of really cool rare Pokemon with my husband this weekend? Yes. Instead, I'm in a town with no Pokestops. That's how much I love my parents. But that's how much that relationship means to me.
Can we not talk about Pokemon right now?
This is season 2 of episode 1, and somebody already brought up Pokemon.
Can we not talk about it right now?
I'm sorry. It's triggering me. I'm annoyed. I'm sorry. Anyway, I want to get to some of these questions because I think they're important. Robin asked, "What do you think heathens have a responsibility to?" Okay, I'm sorry. Do you think heathens have a responsibility to spread worldview, or simply acting heathen ourselves enough? I'm going to assume Robin meant with the general overculture and not other heathens, because with other heathens, absolutely. But with the general overculture, I am a firm believer that heathenry should be a religion of attraction and not a recruitment. meaning we should have something that is, we do. I mean, we have something that's so awesome that if we truly live by kind of that worldview and that belief system, other people will want what we have. That's my opinion.
Well, I mean, yeah, I agree. I mean, do we have a responsibility to spread heathenry? No, absolutely not. In fact, I think we should actively try not to.
I routinely tell
somebody,
people, we didn't want you.
Yeah.
Please stop being heathen.
There are a few, yeah.
I want to say that to a few people.
Can you use a different word, please, just so that we're not associated?
Can you just go over there? Can you just
back to the question?
Go be heathen over there.
We're not proselytizing, so we have no reason necessarily to spread the religion. But I think I'm going to go ahead and put words in your mouth for my own benefit, Robin. I think that what you're referring to is the idea of our cultural habits, the way we interact with the people around us. And the answer to both of the questions in that case would be a yes. Do we have a responsibility to spread it? Yeah, absolutely. But but our responsibility to spread it is done through being the way we are. The idea of imposing the way we view the world and the way we act with the world onto the rest of the world, spreading it that way, isn't really a good one. It's not. It would never work anyway. I would love it if everybody that I interacted with, heathen or not, ran by the same rules as I did for social interaction. That would be brilliant. It would make my life so much easier, and at the end of the day, it wouldn't be a good thing because people are always going to try to find ways to lawyer their way out of things like that. Look at how many people try to lawyer their way out of the Ten Commandments, for example, and those are some pretty basic freaking rules. And those are basic rules that are a pretty well ingrained part of our overculture, and yet people are constantly actively finding ways out of them. So the best you can do is to just be the way you are and act in the best ways you can and hope that the benefit of that looks attractive enough to those outside.
Yeah.
That's
what's the next question? I can't read them from here.
I'll keep reading them. Hey, look, the blind girl's reading the questions. Madness.
Sweet.
Yeah, I know. That's why I keep stumbling over my words. I don't know who asked this one, but I want to kind of hop back up to this one. What core traits do you look for when screening for people worth forming strong relationships with? That's going to be super personal, I think, to each individual. For me, it comes down to, honestly, that's something that I sat down and I thought about what my personal values are and the kind of people I interact well with, the kind of people I don't, and most importantly, the kind of people who have fucked my life up in the past. I don't care anymore.
So for me, yeah, I'm going to interrupt you here because
go ahead.
You and Torin are talkative.
I'm sorry.
For me, what it comes down to, whether or not the person is worth the time. Torin and I have built a friendship, and it started on Reddit. We talked on Reddit. I joined the mod staff, and then before I knew it, he was like, "Hey, you're moving to Seattle," and then I was moving to Seattle. I mean, the relationships. I really think Americans have a tendency to overthink how they get into friendships. The simple answer is you build friendships with people you get along with. People you don't get along with, you won't build friendships with. It's that simple. You naturally know who you don't like, and so don't build relationships with those people.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. I have to agree with Josh on that one. There's people out there I know that are perfectly good and reasonable people that I just don't get along with for shit, and while I will recognize they're good people and would trust them if it came down to it, I still have no desire to build any sort of relationship with them because I just don't get along with them. Where on the flip side, yeah, there's people that I get along with great, and those are the people I'm going to form a relationship with, and they're not going to be the type of people to fuck me over because if they were, I wouldn't like them.
I will freely admit I have horrible instincts about people sometimes, so I am actually one of those people that puts down that kind of stuff. So it is totally okay if you're like me. So don't feel bad about it if you are like me and struggle with reading people. So yeah, it's totally okay to make lists. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
I'll say Matt brings up a good point too, that there are heathens that you will run into that you cannot stand them. They just annoy the living crap out of you. However, you know that they're going to come through in a pinch, and they're going to be a heathen at the end of the day. And you may not necessarily form a strong bond or a relationship with a person like that, but at least you're going to know who you can count on.
Exactly. All right, one more question to get to, and we're still probably have time for one or two more questions, so get your questions up on IRC to Matt. What sort of expectations go without saying in a heathen relationship? Josh, answer for me, please.
The expectations that go without saying in a heathen relationship are they really boil down to the way you treat one another. There's a level of acceptance of their position, whether or not they're a member of your tribe, whether or not you're in a gifting relationship. I have friends that I've never given a gift and have never received a gift from. A friend is a strong word in that case, right? But the standard expectation is there's a reciprocal nature to it. We give of the same level to each other. They haven't given, I haven't given. Torin has gifted, I gift to Torin. Lauren's gifted, I gift to Lauren. That's where it is. You reciprocate the amount of effort put in.
Yeah. Well, there's the reciprocal nature of it. There's also the fact that when a heathen gives their word, my expectation is they're going to keep it. If they say, I'm going to do the thing, I just naturally expect they're going to do the thing. And if they don't do the thing, then that's when I get to start reevaluating my opinion of the person. But I will admit, I'm to somebody that I know to at least some extent in a heathen capacity, I am going to expect them to actually follow through when they say things. And I think, on top of what the two of you have already said, that's the biggest thing I have to add. And Josh is dropping his microphone.
It's all right. So I think that's probably I'm going to have to go with you, although I will say that I don't necessarily agree with you on that. If a heathen says they're going to do something, I trust they're going to do it because, one, my experience has not been that, and two, I know that if and I'm going to use a fake example here. I'm going to pick on Matt because he doesn't have a mic on him. If Matt tells me he is gonna come mow my yard, because I'm from the South, we don't have lawns, we have yards. But then Matt's wife needs him to.
Sorry, I just switched my mic to omnidirectional so that it'll pick Matt up a little bit better if he decides he needs to comment.
Well, what I'm saying is, but if he says he'll do that and then his wife needs him to do something else, I fully expect that his wife is going to take precedence over me. I think, I fully expect from my own people then, my own kind of inner circle, that their immediate family needs them. That comes before me. That, and I guess to me that's kind of why I disagree with you on that, because of that particular experience and the fact that that's how I operate.
I don't think that's a disagreement. I really think that what you're seeing there is that other aspect of knowing where the person is ranked is the only word that comes to mind. It's not the right one though. For instance, Matt has a wife. His wife is more important than his friends. Torin has a wife. His wife is more important than his friends. I'm not married.
More important than all y'all.
I'm not married, so I don't really have that same expectation of if my significant other says, hey, I need you to go buy groceries, that's going to be more important than me telling Torin, I'm going to come help you work on your car.
Right.
there's no,
She has. My wife has my back as well. I was working out of state when I had made the obligation to pick up Lauren from the airport. And instead of trying to pass that off on someone else, my wife had my back and she covered for me. But that was still my family's promise that I was going to do that.
Right, and totally, your wife is, I love your wife, but the point being that I also recognize that it depends on where I fall in that person's particular inner yard.
Hierarchy.
In the same,
Hierarchy is the word.
Hierarchy, yeah.
Yeah.
Where but.
Sorry, my
yeah, I totally, I'm with you on that. Like I said, that's my personal experience, and so I kind of want to, I guess once again also because there are some flaky heathens who it appears they're flaky, but then later you find out there's like totally legitimate different reasons. So it is what it is.
There's an expectation that you cover your promises.
Yeah.
When you make a promise to another heathen, it's not quite the same to back out of that.
No, because it's your reputation, but you have to weigh your reputation versus heathenry is all about a balancing act of all of those things. It really is.
So I'm going to interrupt the question here.
Yeah.
I'm going to interrupt.
Okay, I'm sorry.
For those of you who had questions and didn't get to them, and we didn't get to them, by all means, email those to, what's my email address for the podcast, Lauren? It's josh@heathentalk.com?
Yep, right? Or you can email it to hosts@heathentalk.com, and it goes to all of us.
Well, I'm going somewhere with this.
Go to josh@heathentalk.com.
Email those to josh@heathentalk.com. I will read them, and I'm going to start a project here in the next couple of weeks where I'm taking the excess questions and answering them throughout the week during my mornings because I don't start work till 10:30, so I've got time. So by all means, shoot those questions to me. You may see some new videos popping up on the Heathen Talk channel that are just me answering your questions.
You know what, Josh? Feel free to forward some of those to me. That actually sounds like a decent excuse for me to write something.
There you go. So, yeah.
I'll read them. Sorry, guys. I'm busy. I'll read them. That's all I'm going to promise you guys.
Lauren, why don't you tell the people where they can find out about us and what's going on just talk to the people for a couple of minutes before we sign off.
I will absolutely do that, guys. If you want to find us, we're always at heathentalk.com. If you go there and you click on links, you will find that there is a link there for all kinds of great information for us. You can figure out where we are on Facebook, Twitter. Some of our great friends of the program, like the Open Halls Project and Mark's new project, which I'm not going to try to pronounce, but it's Anglo-Saxon heathenry.
Yes.
Thank you, because I really am not somebody to try to pronounce things. So, I mean, we've really got a lot of really great information there. There's links to Accessible Heathenry Project. There's posts, there's pictures, there's just go check it out. Like us on Facebook, give us a shout on Twitter. I'm checking Instagram now, so I don't know Instagram something. I don't know how it works. I can't figure it out. Also Snapchat, can't figure it out. And then, of course, if you're on Tumblr, we syndicate everything over there. So lots of ways to engage with us, and we want you to. You can email any one of us, Lauren, Josh, Torin, hosts@heathentalk.com gets all of us, and you can even email Ben, and I believe that if you want to email Mark, it's producer. So, yeah, definitely do that for us. We would appreciate it. And I just want to say one more thing. Next week we'll be back. I have no idea what we're talking about, but it's going to be a great show. I know that.
Neither do we.
And until then, guys, you're not the boss of me.
You're doing it wrong.
Everybody have a great week.